Have you ever walked past a house that felt like it was watching you? The kind of place that seems older than the town itself, where time moves slower and silence feels alive. Tonight's story isn't about superstition. It's about a house that was supposed to be torn down but refused to die. A house filled with dolls that still whisper, and a man who went inside and never came back. This is the House of the Blue Roof. You're listening to NightLore. And if you ever find yourself near an abandoned home with its windows boarded shut, remember, some doors don't stay closed because of locks. The House of the Blue Roof. I never believed in curses. Old houses, old stories, old people. They all have their ghosts, don't they? But this one never stopped staring back. I live in a small prefecture by the coast, the kind of place where everyone knows each other's family name and where rumors travel faster than cars. There's a house at the end of an overgrown street with blue roof tiles and windows so rotted they look like holes in a skull. The locals call it the Monoraku House. It once belonged to a family of artisans who were famous for their dolls' puppets, so lifelike they were said to blink on their own. When cinema came to town, their craft faded into obscurity. One by one, the children left. The family business died, and the house was abandoned. But it was never truly empty. I joined the city's zoning committee about 2 years ago. Bureaucratic work, mostly approving demolitions, land expansions permits. When the board proposed extending the shopping district, I was assigned to survey that particular plot of land, the Monoraku property. My partner was Yamamoto Date, a quiet, polite man whose very name caused confusion. 2 last names, he joked once. Makes people think I'm more important than I am. I liked him though. We were outsiders in this town, and outsiders tend to cling to each other. The first day we visited the property, several of the older residents gathered near the fence. They watched us without a word. One man, his face wrinkled like old bark, finally spoke up. "You shouldn't go in there," he said. Tate smiled politely. "Why is that, sir?" The man's lips cracked into a grimace. "You don't even know about the fire in '83, do you? The boy that disappeared." I looked to my partner, but he only raised a brow. The crowd murmured. A woman hissed, "Don't start Genji." But Genji continued. They dared him to sleep inside, the children did. He was gone 3 days before anyone confessed. When they searched, all they found were the dolls. He leaned closer, and the daughter. She gave birth to one. The crowd gasped. The woman slapped his shoulder. "Enough, you fool." Genji only chuckled. "Tell me that's a rumor. You hear her crying at night, don't you?" The mother, still walking through those halls, still looking for her child. I wanted to dismiss it all as superstition. Every small town had its ghost stories. But when 2 days later, that same woman was found dead, her body propped upright against a wall, hands positioned neatly in her lap, like a puppet, I started to wonder if they were right to be afraid. When we returned to the Monoraku property, the world seemed quieter there. The grass had grown up to my knees, swallowing the stone path. The porch sagged under our weight, and the paper screens were punctured with time. I half expected something to move behind them. Inside, the air was thick with mold and the faint chemical smell of burned lacquer. The floorboards creaked like they were whispering to each other. We found nothing but dust until we reached the back of the house. One door stood untouched. Unlike the others, its wood was pale and smooth, unblemished by rot or insects. Date reached for the handle. "Wait," I said. "Maybe it's locked." It wasn't. The hinges sighed as it opened. Hundreds of dolls lined the walls. Every shelf, every inch of floor was filled with them, heads, tilted glass eyes, gleaming. They varied in size from palm-sized children to nearly human height. Each one was dressed differently, some in old kimonos, others in tattered Western clothes. Yet all of them shared the same expression, a faint knowing smile. I froze. One stood in the corner as tall as Date himself. Its porcelain face was smooth and expressionless, yet it seemed aware. "Almost looks real, doesn't it?" he said. He stepped beside it and turned to me. "Come on, take a picture. For the report." I sighed, lifted the camera, and pressed the button. The flash went off. When my vision cleared, Date was gone. At first, I thought he was hiding, playing a stupid joke. I called his name. No answer. My flashlight caught rows of faces staring back at me. Then one of them blinked. I stumbled backward, hitting the door which slammed shut on its own. My heart thudded against my ribs. I turned the light toward the sound of scratching. Tiny, soft scratches like fingers dragging across wood. "Date," I shouted. No reply. The scratching grew louder, closer, until something brushed my ankle. I ran. Through the dolls, through the corridor, through the dark, until I crashed into someone. "Date." He looked pale, confused. "What's wrong?" "You disappeared?" I gasped. "Where did you go?" He frowned. "I didn't go anywhere. You were right behind me." But behind him wasn't the doll room anymore. It was another space, vast, hollow, impossibly large. We stepped inside. The room stretched upward like a cathedral, its ceiling lost in shadow. At its center lay a miniature city, complete with streets, buildings, cars, lampposts. Even tiny trees swayed, though there was no wind. Date crouched beside it. "Look, it's our town," he said, pointing. "There's my house, and yours." I didn't answer. The air felt heavy electric. "We should go." He ignored me. "They built all this just to store it away." He reached out, brushing the roof of a doll-sized house. The shadows moved. A pale figure unfolded from the corner, tall, white, as porcelain, its limbs impossibly long. It moved like something remembering how to walk. Before I could shout, it grabbed him. Date screamed as it lifted him off the ground. His flashlight rolled across the floor, spinning its beam across the walls. I saw its face, for the first time, smooth, eyeless lips, cracked into a smile carved too deep. It slammed him down. Once, twice. The sound was wet and final. Then it dragged him into the darkness, leaving only the echo of his breath. I tried the door. It wouldn't open. I screamed until my throat tore. Then silence. I don't know how long I sat there. Maybe minutes, maybe hours. The flashlight flickered weakly. When I picked it up, I noticed movement below. The tiny city wasn't still anymore. Dolls were walking in the streets. Cars moved between lanes. Tiny lights flickered on inside windows. It was alive. I crawled closer, unable to look away. They moved perfectly, too perfectly. Their heads turned in unison, their mouths twitching as if whispering. I leaned over the miniature road, following a single doll, a woman with long black hair. Her hair drifted slightly, as if caught in an invisible breeze. Then I saw it a thin thread attached to the crown of her head, stretching upward into the dark. I followed it, with my eyes tracing it to the ceiling. They were up there. Dozens of figures, wearing masks, perched along the rafters, staring down at me. I called the police. My hands shook so violently I could barely dial. When the operator answered, I sobbed. "There's something in here. It killed my partner. Please send someone. She told me to stay calm. Help was on the way. I can hear the sirens, I said. They're close. And then I saw it on the miniature street below a tiny police car sped toward the dollhouse, its red and blue lights spinning. The real sirens outside grew louder, matching the tiny wail from the model. I looked up at the ceiling again. The pale figure had returned. Its long arm reached across the city, finger extended. It pressed the tip of its nail against the miniature car, slowly pushing it off the board. The sirens outside faded away. Then silence. The creature backed into the shadows. The door behind me creaked open. I didn't think. I just ran. Through the halls, through the broken screens, through the field of weeds, until I collapsed outside in the grass. I turned once and saw the windows glow faintly, as if hundreds of eyes watched from within. The old man was waiting by the fence. Told you, he said softly. They tried to burn it once after the boy vanished. Just made it worse. The fire woke it up. He scratched the top of his head, pulling slightly. And for a moment, I thought I saw a strand of something glinting in the sunlight, like a string embedded beneath his scalp. You should leave it alone now. I can't, I whispered. My friend, you'll be back, he said, smiling faintly. You'll see. When I reported everything, the creature, the dolls, the model city, my supervisors dismissed it as exhaustion. Overwork, they said. Go home, get some rest. The police never found date. No traces, no prints, no blood. Just my camera cracked and empty. The film roll was missing. A week later, I returned to work. People greeted me in the hallway, cheerful, polite. But when they said my name, they called me Yamamoto. I didn't correct them. If you're still here, thank you for listening. But be careful tonight. Stories like this have a way of finding their way back, especially if you think about them too long. Because sometimes the strings that pull the dolls don't stop at the ceiling. This was The House of the Blue Roof, told by NightLore. If you enjoyed this story, leave a comment, subscribe for more dark confessions. And whatever you do, don't look up.